I challenged the MTA to come up with a plan. They came up with a plan. They can disinfect all trains and buses every night. It can best be done by stopping train service from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. every night during the pandemic so they can actually perform this service. Now, remember the context that we're in this pandemic. Ridership is down 92%. 1 to 5 are these slow hours, 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. It's the lowest ridership. Estimate is about 10,000 people ride the system overall during that period of time. So the MTA will launch what they call the Essential Connector Program. They'll have buses, dollar vans, and if necessary, will provide for-hire vehicles to transport a person. The Uber, the Lyft, the Via vehicles at no cost to the essential worker during those hours to provide transport. So people who need transportation during 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. can have it, will have it, even to the extent of a for-hire vehicle paid for by the MTA. Remember, 1 a.m. to 5 a.m., we don't have bars open, we don't have restaurants open, so you don't have a lot of traffic that you would normally have. You do have essential workers who are using our trains and subways, and they will have transportation during that period of time. This is going to be one of the most aggressive, creative, challenging undertakings that the MTA has done. It's going to require the MTA, the state, the city, the NYPD to all work together. It's not that easy to stop train service. You have to close down stations. You have to make sure people don't walk in. Then you have to figure out how to clean all these trains and all these stations. I've consulted with the elected officials on the MTA's recommendation, and we all agree to accept the plan on the Essential Connector Program. The MTA is undertaking something that people would have said was virtually impossible. Trains and buses will be disinfected daily. Service will continue. The MTA will also disinfect the fleet on the the Metro North and the Long Island Railroad, which is what goes out to Long Island, goes to the northern suburbs. They can do that without any disruption in service because of the volume of ridership, et cetera. So just think about it. The entire public transit system in downstate New York will be disinfected every 24 hours. This is a joint MTA state-city partnership. We are doing a lot of things here that we've never done before, and I am never one to shy away from a challenge. I don't believe government has that option. I'm never one to say, well, that's just too much, too hard, too ambitious. We can do it. I believe we can do it. I believe we can do anything. I believe we can build bridges. I believe we can build airports. I believe we can defeat global pandemics. But this is as ambitious as anything that we've ever undertaken. And it's going to require a lot of extraordinary service and effort from multiple agencies all working together. The MTA has stepped up by recommending this plan. The state will do whatever it has to do. Big part of this falls to the city, and I've spoken to Mayor de Blasio. It's going to require a lot of assistance from the NYPD. It's going to require a lot of assistance from different city agencies. Again, close down every station, close down the trains. We've never been here before. And I guarantee another 10 things come up when we go to do this that are also unanticipated consequences. So the mayor is really stepping up to the plate here. and is doing something that no mayor has ever attempted to do before. We'll all do our part. We'll all work together. But it's a heck of an undertaking for the mayor, and I applaud him for his ambition here in stepping up and taking this on. You know, it's always easier to just say no. It's always easier to say we can't do it, because when you say we will try to do it, now you're changing things, and whenever you change, there's opposition. Every time. So it's always easier just to stay status quo. It's always easier not to risk, to be, not to try to raise the bar, because maybe you can't do it, maybe there will be problems. So it's easier just to say no. It's easier to say this is all we can do, it's impossible. That's not what the mayor is doing here. The mayor is stepping up, and he's stepping up in a big way. And I want to applaud him for it. And I think we have the mayor who is on the telephone or some electronic means. There he is. Mayor Bill de Blasio. Welcome to Albany.
Governor, it's a pleasure to be with you. Governor, I want to end that last point you made about all of us together, doing something different, doing something necessary, and being willing together to go someplace we've never been before. You and I have talked about this kind of idea a lot over the years. You know, I think when we first met each other, the word disruption was considered a bad thing. In recent years, it's taken on a very positive connotation, that when we disrupt something that isn't working or has been thought about in a very narrow way and we go someplace new and better, that's a positive. And I think what we're talking about today is exactly that. And I commend you and everyone at the MTA. And I want to talk about why I think this plan is so important in terms of our essential workers, our first responders, our healthcare heroes, why I think it's so important in terms of also addressing homelessness in a new and powerful way. But I first want to say, I want to express my appreciation along with you, really appreciate, back on one of your previous topics, the contact tracing, really appreciate that my predecessor, Michael Bloomberg, is stepping up in such a big way for New York City and New York State. And the contact tracing, the test and trace approach is going to change everything. You and I are united in that as well, the aggressive approach. In fact, Governor, New York City right now is hiring 1,000 contact tracers with healthcare background to supercharge this effort. And I think we are going to be able to show this country a model that's going to be extraordinarily effective in beating back this disease. So I look forward to that partnership as well. But right here on the issue of the MTA, we've all been thrown the biggest curveball in our lives with this pandemic. But look at the consistent heroism of the healthcare workers, the first responders, the grocery store workers, the pharmacists, everyone who came forward. And Governor, I know you feel it too. It's probably the proudest moment we've had as public servants in this state, in this city, watching the heroism of these New Yorkers who have stepped up. Now, we owe it to them to understand their lives. And the notion that they have a daily routine where they go into battle, they go toward the danger, they go where the infection is, which so many people couldn't even imagine, but that's what these heroes are doing. We owe it to them to support them every way possible. You and I have talked many times about the PPEs and the basic protections, but we also owe it to them to be safe on the way to work, on the way back home to their families. So I think what we're doing here in partnership is exactly the right thing to say. We're going to find a way to make our subway system cleaner than it's probably ever been in its history, honestly, and address this crisis in a whole new way. I agree with that, and I commend you for it. And yeah, it took some disruption to say we're going to do something during this pandemic we've never done before, but it makes sense when it comes to protecting our heroes. The second point, homelessness. Look, another issue you and I governed on decades. Well, we know it's been in many ways an intractable issue because there wasn't always an impulse to disrupt. And here is an example of saying, look, We now have found new ways to get street homeless people off the street. And I want to commend Commissioner Dermot Shea and everyone at the NYPD who's really focused on how to help the homeless, Commissioner Steve Banks, everyone at Homeless Services and Social Services, and all those, also those heroic outreach workers. Governor, you know about this work, who go out there day after day to engage homeless people on the streets and the subway, get their trust and get them to come in to shelter and ultimately to permanent housing. This work has always been in some ways stymied by the reality of a homeless person who is struggling with everything they're dealing with, a mental health challenge, a substance abuse challenge, riding the subway all night long. We're New Yorkers, we know about this reality. And it's been put in a stark light by this crisis, like so many other challenges and disparities have. Well, it's an unacceptable reality. And this new plan will disrupt that unacceptable reality and allow us to actually get help to people more effectively. Because if you're not going back and forth all night on a train, then you actually are coming above ground where outreach workers are there to help you, where NYPD officers trained in homeless outreach are there to support homeless people and get them to a better situation. Governor, you know, for decades in this city, somehow homeless encampments were actually tolerated. People thought, oh, it's the kind of thing, what can we do about that? I'm proud to say in the last few years, Homeless Services, NYPD, nonprofit organizations, we got together and we said, we're not allowing that anymore. We shut them down and we found it actually helped us to get the homeless to the help they need. This is another example of that. So I want to let you know that as we all talked about this idea, and I commend you, your team in Albany, and obviously the team at the MTA, Pat Foy, Sarah Feinberg, it's been a very productive conversation these last few days. And what I think we've come to together is that, yeah, we're going to do something unprecedented. We're going to do something because of an emergency, but we're also going to do something that's going to protect people and offer a new way to get people help who never got enough. And so, Governor, thank you. I think this is a partnership. You're right. It's not going to be easy. No one said it was going to be easy. But you have my full commitment, the commitment of the city, the commitment of the NYPD, and all of our agencies. We're going to make this work together. And we're going to be able to look back and say, we did something that actually changed people's lives for the better. And as long as it takes, we're going to stand with you and get this done.